10, and I went to the airport. And I was getting on my flight. I got in my seat. We've all done this before, right? Look to the guy next to me. That can go one of two ways if you travel a lot, right? It's going to be really good or it's going to be really bad. He asked me what I did. Not a bad way to start the conversation. I told him what I did, and over the next hour and a half, the gentleman listened to me talk intently. And I really appreciated that, but there was no back and forth. He just listened. Now, I don't mind talking. Sean only gave me 30 minutes today, and I'm good with that. Thank you very much, by the way. It's great to be here. But at the end, when we're getting ready to leave the plane, the guy looked at me and said, "Man, you've got a great story. Have you ever thought about turning it into a movie?" I'm like, "No, I haven't. Here's my card, call me." This happens all the time in car business, right? Here's my card, I'll give you a call. We hear these things. I thought he was being nice, making a conversation. 3 weeks later, the guy actually does call me, and he said, "I'd like for you to be a guest on the Brian Tracy show." Brian Tracy wrote Eat That Frog. And by the way, if you haven't read Eat That Frog, your teams haven't read Eat That Frog, read that book. It's amazing. One of the things that changed my life. And it's real easy to read as well, which your teams will appreciate. Flew to Los Angeles. I was on the Brian Tracy show. When it was over, they're like, "We really need to turn this into a movie." Now I'm thinking they might be serious because the first thing came true. And I'm a firm believer that God puts people in your life, everyone in your life, for a reason. Now, whether we accept that reason and act on that reason, that's on us. But he put that guy in my life that day, and I decided to take action. I said, "Yep, let's do this." So he came to the dealership. They filmed a documentary about my family. And at the time, I thought my family was my family, which they are, but period on that sentence. If you live with your family, as we all have at some point in time, they're just our family, right? If you work for your dad, you work for your mom, you work for your brother, you work for or with your sister, they're just family members. But other people see that dynamic and they say, "Man, that's kind of special," or "That's kind of weird," or "That's kind of freaky," or whatever. I've seen all the above, by the way. But I didn't realize that my dad was teaching me things that I could never pay for. The first day I went to work for my dad, he said, "Look, when you come in here, I'm not your dad, I'm your boss." I thought that was a little harsh when I went to work for him, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment. But when they filmed that movie, it's called Carmen. I think it's 12 years old, maybe 13 years old now. I got nominated for an Emmy Award. I got to go to the Emmys. Man, I'm from a small, one-stoplight town. The supermarket's a Piggly Wiggly. When you went to get ketchup, there was ketchup. Supermarkets freak me out now. I don't go because there's like 19 kinds of ketchup in different sizes. I'm like, who needs this many bottles of ketchup, right? Ketchup's ketchup. Anyway, if you're not from a small town, that doesn't mean anything to you, but it meant a lot to me that they made this movie and they did the premiere and we red carpeted the thing and we saw it on the big screen. My father, who was in the military, typical military parent, I'm assuming here, right? He got angry about everything. And you're going to do things a certain way. And if you didn't do it that way, it wasn't a good day. I look over at him and there's tears running down his face. And then tears started running down my face. And then tears running down my wife's face. My kids are like this big right now at this point in time. I'm like, man, that moment made me realize there's something special in that dynamic. And it's allowed me to travel the country and tell my story, which is always my story. And it's unique to me because it's my story. And I'd like to share with you what I've learned from my father, who just happens to be the best leader that I've ever known and ever had. And as a caveat here, my dad learned from some of the best leaders that he ever knew. And I'm very blessed in that way because everybody's not like that. We're all fortunate in this room because we have mentors and leaders that are here, and a lot of us view each other as family or extended family, right? Even though you may not have had what I had. But I'm doubly blessed because I had it at home and I've got it here with my automotive family. So I'm going to share a few things with you today that I've learned from my dad, that he learned from his dad, that he learned from his dad, because the first Frank Meyer store, it actually got its origins in Germany. And as odd as that sounds, there were two brothers that came here from Germany with two hammers, and they became carpenters, and they went into business for themselves. So my family has always been entrepreneurs on my dad's side. I don't know that they've ever really worked for anyone else except for themselves. And what a blessing that is, because people that don't live in that and they aren't surrounded by that, man, it's hard to step into that. I didn't know anything else because that's what I saw growing up. That's all I lived. But when they came to America from Germany, they married two American women. And it just went from there. That's my great-grandfather. He's the original Frank Myers. That's outside of the original Frank Myers store. It was started 103 years ago today. So the timing was good. Sean said, man, I've been trying to get you here for 10 years. I'm like, I was always somewhere else. But just so happens on the anniversary of this, I was able to be here. Once again, Sean was put in my life for a reason, and I think for a lot of reasons, but to be here today to share this story with you. That's my dad. We call him, he's the Myers Mafia, Southern Mafia. And it kind of looks like it in that picture. First lesson I've got for you today. And I have abridged these tremendously, and I've got my best ones for you because this is like a 3-hour presentation. You get the short version. It's the last day, and thank you so much for being here on the last day. You're awesome. Who remembers Ferrari sunglasses? A few of you? Yeah. The rest of you just don't know, right? Guess what I got? I got a pair of OG Ferrari sunglasses. Let me tell you why these things are so cool. See this pack? You just open this pack up and they folded. You don't know nothing about the 80s unless you were in the 80s. These dang things folded. Look at this. My dudes, look at this. My dad brought a case of these home one day. He said, son, I want to go into business with you. I said, man, I'm in, let's do this. How do I get paid? He said, you take this box of 12 Ferrari sunglasses to school, you sell these Ferrari sunglasses. I'm going to split it with you. Whatever you sell, you get half. My first thought, growing up in a family of entrepreneurs, even though I'm in 3rd grade, was, man, I didn't even pay for those sunglasses. But I get half. If you're a manager, sales manager, owner, you'll relate to this. We got our salespeople sell inventory that we bought, that we paid for, that we've got our heart and our soul and our capital invested in. We let them sell it. We let them sell it, and we pay them. We let them use a desk. We let them use a phone. We let them use everything at their disposal. Now, granted, we see a reward for that too. I'm not saying this is one-sided. I'm just saying we just happen to have a lot more invested. But my thought process at this point in time in 3rd grade with these Ferrari sunglasses that I took to elementary school was, man, I get half and I got nothing invested. This is a win-win situation. And that's the thing I try to relay to my salespeople every day. What an opportunity this is. So I go to school and I sell it and I sell it and I sell it and I sell it, and I sold it to a teacher, and the teacher went and told the principal, you got to go see Tracy because he's selling Ferrari sunglasses. You need to get some. I had 1 pair left. I went to the principal's office. He said, Mr. Nixon was his name, by the way. Great dude. He said, son, I heard you've been selling on school property. Yes, sir, I have. You can't do that, son. I really do appreciate your fortitude and your entrepreneurial spirit, but you can't do that. It's against the rules. Yes, sir, I understand. It won't happen again. But before I left that office that day, I sold him that last pair of Ferrari sunglasses. The lesson that I learned that day is no isn't always a dead end. It's just a detour. Always remember that. No isn't always a dead end. It is sometimes, but not always. You just got to know when to keep pushing forward. My dad taught me that lesson. Didn't know he was teaching me that lesson. You see, good leaders, they give their students the resources, and they let them make their own decisions. They let them have their own successes, and they let them have their own failures so they can figure out things on their own. And that's what my dad did for me that day, and it was a blessing. And I have a pair of Ferrari sunglasses from 1985-ish. If anybody wants them, see me after, all right? They'll go on eBay if you don't. I got these just for this presentation. I've been looking for these, by the way. And these were in the box. I was kind of hyped. 5th grade, I went diving for golf balls. Once again, this is probably a small town thing, right? But my dad's always looking for a way to make extra money. Now, my dad is very wealthy at this point in his life. Nothing wrong with being wealthy. Everybody say, nothing wrong with being wealthy. But he's always looking for ways to make money. So we went to the local country club. After hours, of course, and with permission. Let me throw that in there. Me and my younger brother, who's 3 years younger than me, and a family friend who's same age, a year older than I was, we went to the pond, and we started getting these golf balls, throwing them out. He gave us a nickel for every golf ball we threw out. Then we had to carry the buckets and put them in the back of the truck. Then we had to take them home and clean those golf balls, and then we put them in egg cartons. Old styrofoam egg cartons. And then my dad would sell the golf balls out in front of the country club. That may or may not have been with their permission, but that's another story for another day. But we went diving for golf balls. Man, what an opportunity that is. Once again, I'm thinking, I'm making money off of something I didn't even pay for. Now, we're not going to talk about the disease that was probably in this pond and all that. It's 2024. We probably couldn't do this today, right? Just for liability issues. They would have absolutely said no. But back then in the country, man, it's just what we did. But that doesn't matter. Even though those limitations may be put on us today, there's still opportunity everywhere. We just got to look. Who would have thought that we could have jumped into a pond, dug out some old golf balls that nobody wanted, clean them and sell them and resell them? My dad knew that, right? He taught us that. That was a solution to a problem. What's the problem? The golf ball's in the water. Nobody else is going to get them out. I think they have machines for that. I'm not a golfer. I think they have machines for that now, right? But they didn't then. Focus on the solutions instead of the problems. That way we all win. My top salesperson's here. Jessica's going to really, really be angry because I'm pointing her out. She's been with me for 7 years. She's our top salesperson. She averages 30 cars a month. She works 3 weeks out of a month. Y'all give it up for Jessica. Thank y'all for welcoming her into our automotive family. This is also her first automotive conference. So, and I'm bringing that up right now because what do we always talk about at the store? Solutions. It's not about the commodity, it's about the solution. We all sell the same cars, essentially. We all buy them from the same place, essentially. We all pay the same for them because the market dictates that now more than ever before. You've heard that before, right, Jessica? She can probably recite it better than I can at this point. So how do we differentiate ourselves? And how do we provide a solution to the problem? And a lot of people assume that's a credit-based statement, but it's not. You got your Maserati and you need you another color. That's a problem. It's not just credit, but man, we provided that solution to the problem. We jumped in there and got those golf balls out. Oh, and we got money. We got paid. We all like to get paid, right? Everybody say, I like to get paid. 6th grade, flea market shenanigans, man. Is a flea market Southern, is that a Southern thing? No? Okay, good. All right, so maybe you'll understand this. So my dad was hustling flea markets. He was still in the car business. Always looking for a way that multiple income streams. Maybe they were different then than they are now, but same thing, right? Multiple income streams. Anybody remember Panama Jack? It's still around, by the way. But man, that was the first T-shirt I remember. It was like $50. When that thing came out, we're like, $50 for a T-shirt? Man, they're crazy. It was a suntan lotion. And when they sold out, they would go for $75 and $100. Guys would buy them in bulk for $50 and go sit on the street corner selling for $100. Supply and demand. It's all good, right? My dad found a way. This is the Southern Mafia coming in here, right? My dad found a guy who would make these on their own time, but they look really good. He never sold them as authentic, though, just for the record. But you could get something that looked just like a Panama Jack. This was Panama Hack, right? Panama Jack for $15. You had $1.50 in the shirt. So we went to the flea market, and this was in Myrtle Beach. It's an outdoor flea market. If you've been to Myrtle Beach in the summertime, it's miserable. It's like 115 degrees, no breeze. It's funky. But we went to this outdoor flea market. We set up out there with these T-shirts. Said, I'm going to go into business with you again, son. He said, you're young and you're cute. I said, they'll all buy this T-shirt from you. He said, I'm going to give you $3 for every one you sell. I said, I like the 50% better that you gave me on the Ferrari sunglasses. He said, I can't do that on these. So I learned the art of negotiation right there on the spot. I said, this is easy. And he said, look, I know you hate being here because it's hot. I was already complaining. Oh, it's so hot out here. You know how kids do. It's so hot, Dad. Can we go back to the room? But we set those, he said, the sooner you sell all these shirts, the quicker we get out of here. So now I've learned the lesson of urgency. We have forgotten about urgency in what we do. And I say we, I mean as a collective whole. This is probably the urgent room, I would assume, by the people I've met, right? You're all urgent. You're there early. You stay late. Even if you come and go on your own schedule, that's cool too. I love that, by the way, right? As long as you can produce. And when you're in the moment, you produce. I'm good with that. That's why Jessica works 3 weeks out of a month. She got stuff she want to do. You know what? I say this respectfully. I don't care what you do. As long as it's not illegal and you represent the company well, I'm good. But you produce when you get back. When she's there, she owns. Everybody else is watching TikToks. She's calling her customers. She's sending text messages. She's following up. She's bringing her customers in. It's urgency. I was learning that early. My dad taught me another lesson that day. Stop waiting on big things to happen and just go make big things happen. Now look. We could have easily waited for supply and demand to drop on the Panama Jack shirts, waited until they were in the discount bin, which they eventually went to, right? And then we could have sold them for $15, $20. But there's no supply. There's a big supply. There's no demand. We can't make any money. Then they're sitting there. Does this sound familiar? Cars, same thing, right? Man, that part of the economy don't change is supply and demand. And I don't care what side of the business you're in, whether you're in the new car side, the used car side, buy here, pay here side, special finance side, I don't care because we've done it all. We've had new car stores, high-end retail stores, used. Now we're in my pocket is special finance. I love it. I love serving that customer base and lease here, pay here, which is an offshoot of buy here, pay here, but we can talk about that some other time. 7th grade, the hardest work I ever did. My dad said, man, you got to get a job. I said, get a job? I've been working since 3rd grade. You've had me hustling since 3rd grade. What are you talking about? I said, no, you got to work for somebody else. Any people from family-owned businesses? I know there are because I've talked to some of you. So the one thing I even told my son, he works for me now, very fortunate. He's not in the slide. He's 22, and he's selling for me now. And that's amazing. Whether he stays in the car business or not, what an amazing opportunity I've got right now to spend these couple years with him or these next 15 to 20. That decision's his, not mine, or maybe mine, I don't know. Depends on how, if he doesn't produce, I'm his boss when he gets there, Same thing. But I encourage people in family-owned businesses to let your children work for somebody else first, just so they understand the deal, right? My dad sent me to work for Billy Joe Matthews. He had the largest tobacco farm in Yadkin County, which is where I'm from. No problem. I like Billy Joe. Went to school with Billy Joe Matthews' kids, right? How hard could this be? Man, let me tell you. I promised tobacco for one summer. You get there at 5:30 in the morning. My mother dropped me off. She's complaining because she's not a morning person. She drops me off. We work from 5:30 until the sun goes down. Lunch was, you guys know what nabs are? That's a southern thing. Cheese crackers. Toast cheese, maybe somewhere, okay. Little cheese crackers and moon pie and RC Cola. I really date myself for RC Cola, right? That's what we got for lunch. And it was 15 minutes, then went back to work. At the end of the first day, I dropped to my knees. True story. I dropped to my knees. Billy Joe Matthews been screaming at me the whole time because I was at the back of the row. You go up rows in tobacco. You go to one stalk, you go to the very bottom, you wrap your hand around it. I'll never forget this, by the way. Some things are just in your memory. You wrap your hand around the stalk and you pull it this way. And then you throw the leaves under your arm. And then you go to the next one, you do it again. You go to the next one, you do it again. First priming's the toughest. Why? You go all the way to the bottom. This was the first priming. My back still feels it today. You got your arm like this. If you've never experienced tobacco gum under your fingernails and in your hands, it doesn't come out except with time. You can use sand, you can use grit, you can use stone, it does not matter. In 7th grade, how old do you think I was? 12. What happens when you're 12? Start liking boys, girls, right? My hands are in my pockets all the time because my fingernails look dirty. One of the most valuable lessons I could have learned at that moment, right? But I dropped to my knees. I said, God, if you get me out of here, if you get me out of here, I will never complain about another job I have as long as I live. And I was sincere, and I was serious, and I've never complained about any job I've ever done since I left Billy Joe Matthews that summer. I did do it all summer. God didn't get me out at that moment. He made me finish that whole priming, but that was good for me. God knew what he was doing. I didn't know what I was doing, but God knows. The lesson I learned, the things that you hate the most are the things that shape you the most. Man, y'all talking about, I don't know about video. Y'all need to go back and watch some of my videos. This is not about me. I mean, this is about me, but this statement's not about me. I was dressing up like a woman on TV 20 years ago just so people would watch. I'm a used car dealer. And I didn't do that because I was a used car dealer. I did that because I didn't have any money. I knew I had to make an impact. And when they're flipping, who flips during commercials? You don't watch commercials. You watch streaming now. But when you watch television and commercials came on, oh, it's another commercial. And you flip it, right? Man, I wanted to pop on in a dress and lipstick and say, woo! And I was, oh, what in the world is this guy doing? And it worked. Did I want to do that? No. Who wants to do that? I hated it, but it shaped me. It made me realize that you have to step outside of that proverbial box. I even hate that statement, by the way. You step outside your box. Ugh. It's one of those things, like, just drives me insane. It's like people say, I gave you 110%. No, you didn't. There's no such thing as 110%. You can't give me 110%. You only got 100. It's math. We're in the car business. 10th grade, I decided I'm going to be like my dad. Not go into the car business because I hated the car business. Any idea why I hated the car business? When we went out to eat, you'd go to a restaurant that was 15 miles away. It'd take us 45 minutes to get there. This may be a used car dealer thing. My dad would see cars for sale on the side of the road. He'd pull in, knock on the door. Then he'd go to the back door. Then he'd look in the window. Then he'd write a note and put it under the windshield wiper. My mom be yelling out the window, Frank, I'm hungry. Let's go. So I said, I'm not doing that. I hate that, right? But I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to work for myself. So I told my dad I want to be a mobile DJ. The guy that's DJing the school dances, he's the science teacher. He sucks. This was the day after the school dance. Problem, solution. I already had this figured out. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll loan you the money. I'll create you a payment schedule. You pay me back. Here's what it'll be. This happened over about an hour, by the way. Can you? Oh, yeah, I can do that. I don't know. I didn't have a business plan. I don't know. Yeah, that's easy. Whatever. You don't know what $100 is or $500 is in 10th grade. I didn't. I spent every dime I had, just like my son did when he was my age. I can do that. He said, but before you do that, son, I want you to talk to every mobile DJ that you know. I don't know any mobile DJs. We're going to find them. Back then, we opened the Yellow Pages. It's easy now, right? We drove to Greensboro, which is about 30 minutes from me. We drove to Charlotte, which is about an hour and a half from me. We did it on Saturday nights. Why? Because that's when they're working. He said, I'll pay you if you'll talk to my son for 30 minutes ahead of time. Just tell him what you do, how much money that you make, if you think he can make any money doing it. Lesson learned, and this may be my favorite, and that's why you're here, by the way. To be successful, find other people that are successful, and just do what they do. We make this so hard. You can copy almost everything they do. Copy maybe repurpose. You can repurpose, right? And then make it your own. I'm the best repurposer of all time. I don't know that I've ever had one original idea. Now, some people will say that's a harsh statement, but look, I know what's in here. I'm not very deep. Just ask my wife. I'm super one-dimensional, but you're so creative. You've got all these ideas. No, everybody had these other ideas. I just know how to build on those ideas and make them my ideas. But you're here because you want to be successful. There are other successful people in the room. You just do what they do. You're listening to how they do it. It's not that hard. Why do we make this so hard? 17 years old, I decided to leave the country. I turned 17 years old on May 25th. On June the 7th, I drove to Atlanta. I'm going to school. I'd never been to Atlanta in my life. Anybody from a small town? Remember the first time you went to the city? Like a big city? It was crazy, right? Crazy. In my hometown, we had a Baptist church and a Methodist church, and what they call the black church. That was it. I thought, being sincere, I thought Catholic churches were things on movies. They didn't exist in the town I grew up in. I go to Atlanta, it's like, whoa, what's going on here? I went to school, and I knew I needed to make some money. I opened the newspaper for a job. You relate to this, right? Make $5,000 a month, big black letters. Doing what? Selling cars. Oh, man. I can do that. I don't want to do that, but I'll do that. I went to school from 8 to 1, got hired at the Toyota Buick store in Atlanta from 3 to midnight. They wanted to put me on the Toyota side. I said, nope, put me on the Buick side. Oh, you'll get ate up on the Buick side. I said, nope. I know the average age of the customer of Buicks, and that's the person I can relate to. They will love me. Know your strengths. I still love working with elderly folks. Probably my favorite pocket of customers. Love it. But man, that Buick side was so good to me. You know when I quit school? When I got my first paycheck. So I didn't choose the car business. I heard this day one. Car business chose me. I got that first paycheck, and I'm like, well, maybe my dad not so crazy. There was a Buick Skylark sitting on the showroom floor. It had been there for over 1 year. One of the ugliest cars ever made, by the way. This was the GS, which was this teal color up top and this gray on the bottom with this velour in the center and this catfish front end. Oh my God, it was so ugly. Every month they put a different spiff amount. They kept going up and up and up. And I said, brother, if they come asking for a Park Avenue, I'm showing them a Skylark. If they come in for a Toyota Camry, I got a Skylark. First couple I showed it to said, you know what, honey, this ain't too bad. I said, oh my God, I'm trying to keep my cool. I'm thinking this is the ugliest car ever made. They drove that car out that day. I got paid $3,500. Spiff, right? I had zero talent. I had people skills. I had no talent. I didn't know how to sell. I knew how to sell myself, but I didn't know anything. What's this car do? It drives. I don't know. Talk to the guy in the box, because we worked to run a product specialist closer system. At 18, I became the youngest sales manager. Closers is what I don't think we use that term anymore, maybe internally, but they said, hey Sean, I'm Tracy, I'm the closer. It's like, they said that to the customer. Car business was very different back then. They're not just stories, it was all true. I worked there for 2.5 years, became the youngest sales manager in the history of the store, or closer. My pants, which are too big now, but they got too big then. I thought I was better than everybody in the store. Huge mistake. I went looking for another job, and I wanted to be a sales manager. I went knocking on doors. I'd work my way up here. What'd everybody tell me? Brother, you're 19. No way. This is Atlanta, right? Right place, right time, right productivity at the first store. I was too proud to call home. So give it 2 or 3 months, I couldn't pay rent, I couldn't pay phone, I couldn't pay car, I couldn't pay nothing. Because I wasn't going backwards in my mind. That's backwards. And a lot of people are like that. I'm not working anywhere if I can't do what I want to do. You ever hear that with cars? If I can't drive what I want, I just won't buy a car. Same type mentality. It's kind of screwed up, and I was screwed up. I was a kid. So I became homeless. And Glenn's story the other day resonated with me, even though my homelessness was by choice, as odd as that sounds, because I could have picked up the phone any given time and called mom and dad and said, hey, I need help, bail me out. I refused to call my mom and dad because my mom said, you're never going to make it. You'll be home in a couple weeks. Crocodiles? Negative, negative, negative. My mother's a lovely lady. I love her with all my heart. My dad is the most positive person in the world. My mother is the most negative person in the world. True story. She knows this, by the way. Glass half full. That glass ain't even half, it's just empty. It's empty, turned upside down, and you can't put no more water in it with my mom. So one day, I packed up my little Festiva that literally had one clean side on it. The other side was butchered because I'd wrecked it to death. Hadn't changed oil. We relate to this too if you're in service. In about 1.5 years, God bless that Festiva. I left the majority of my belongings in a box in my boss's office because we were still friends. He just said, you just can't. They had a no rehire policy if you walked out. I respect it, no problem. Drove home. My mom said, oh, you're home for New Year's. I said, nope, I'm home. I'm done. Too much for me. Too big for me. Over my head. But I learned more than that 3.5, 4 years, and I've probably learned the rest of my life. It was good for me. I stepped out in faith. I believed in myself, and I accomplished. I achieved. I won. I did everything I wanted to do, and I lost every bit of it.
Wow.
The lesson I learned, perhaps you can't control your circumstances, but you can keep your circumstances from controlling you.
That's right. That's right.
And I say that because at that moment I could have went home, moved in with mom and dad, and said, I just quit. That wasn't meant to be. I could have went my mom's side. But I said, no, man, that ain't me. I'm not done yet. I'm a kid. I didn't say, I don't know if kids actually say I'm a kid because I thought I knew everything.
Right.
22 years old, I called my dad finally. Now, I worked for about 6 months at other jobs. I said, man, I can't make the kind of money making the car business. I sucked up my pride, put my tail between my legs, said, Dad, yeah, I think I'm ready to come to work for you. Okay, I've got a position for you. So I went to the dealership, had my shirt, my tie. I dressed just like this, except I had a tie on. I said, good morning, Frank, because I can't call him Dad. He's my boss.
Right.
He said, good morning. He said, you're a little overdressed today. What do you mean? I'm going to be selling cars. I don't care. But you're not selling cars. You're washing cars. Bro, you got to be kidding me right now. I stayed there for 1 year in the detail shop. 1 year in my dad's detail shop after I'd been sales manager making $100,000+ a year at 18 years old.
Crazy.
Was I angry or was I angry? I was angry.
Yeah.
Did I hold it against my dad? Absolutely. I'd like to tell you I didn't, but I did. That was the best year of my life. Because I kept coming to him and say, Frank, when can I get out of the detail shop? When you're ready. When's that? You'll know. Frank, when can I get out of the detail shop? When you're ready. How will I know? You'll know. I'm washing cars one day. It's 105 degrees in the detail shop. There's no AC in the detail shop. We have AC now, so yes. Basically because I lived it, I understand it, right? I don't want them to go through what I went through, which may not be the right attitude, but anyway. I look out on the lot and there's a customer. There's no salesperson. I've got my galoshes on and my gloves. That's a little bougie, right? I didn't want nothing to get wrinkled up. I threw the sponge down. I went out there and I sold them a car. I said, all right. Went back to the detail shop. My dad said, you ready?
Wow.
Why didn't you tell me all I had to do was sell a car? I could have done this a year ago. Because you had to figure it out on your own.
Right.
Man, if I told you and just let you, then I'm giving it to you. Nobody will ever respect you. Valuable lessons. Always remember, I don't care how bad it is, the life you're complaining about is the life somebody else is praying for.
Wow, that is absolutely phenomenal. Can y'all give it up for Tracy, man? I'm telling y'all, it's phenomenal stuff, y'all. Goodness gracious, we can't get no better than that, Tracy. Listen, and listen, man. Listen, he's bringing such value, and I hate to do it, man, but I know we got.
No, we done. Look,
okay.
Yeah, give me 30 seconds.
All right.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. That's me on the left. That's obviously me on the right. I always thought I was Superman, right? I always wanted to be Superman. You can be Superman. You can be Supergirl. You can identify as anything you want to identify, and you can be that, right? Just be that. I bring that thing out every Halloween. The lesson you learn, and my dad told me this. I said, I want to be Superman one day. He said, why do you want to be Superman? He said, we don't need another hero, son. We need more leaders. We need more leaders. Heroes just come in and save the day. Leaders come in and show other people how to do it and get it done, and they walk away. They don't necessarily take the credit for it.
So good. Man, I'm telling you.
So,
LA, wait a second.
And that's it.
Mike, wait, real quick. LA, just, it is what it is. So, Tracy, hang on for a second. The other thing I want to just say to everybody is that over years, I'm not talking about like months, years and years, I've watched you, your family, your team on social media. And you get to feel like you know people, you know what I mean? All the WrestleCade stuff, all that you do with your son, your family, like I resonated, and I got to tell you, you have no idea how special it was that you came to me, because I wasn't even at Digital Dealer when Tiana was there, and you were just like one proud dad to another proud dad. We're just like, telling me about what it was like watching her and stuff like that. And I just wanted in front of everybody to say, thank you so much for your kindness and for what you do to the industry. I mean, like you have a legacy. I mean, 100+ years, that is insane. So please, can we stand up and give this man a round of applause? Because he's definitely, and his family is what makes this automotive industry so special. Tracy Myers in the building.
Got it from his daddy.
Took years, but we got you here.
Listen, if you don't have access to Bradley On Demand, you're missing out on crucial information. The top automotive groups like Coons, Lithia, and Norm Reeves have all used Bradley On Demand to train their teams. And guess what? The world's #1 car salesman, Cody Carter, shares his exclusive strategies right here. You want his secrets? You gotta have Bradley On Demand. Stop waiting and start winning. Dominate your market. Click the link and get access now.